September 2nd, workout breakdown, chest day. Won't go over the urban legend stuff. Kind of been avoiding that on these videos, the urban legend stuff. If you are doing it, you kind of know what to expect at this point, and I don't see a reason as the majority of people aren't doing the urban legend stuff. So I'm just going to stick to the workouts themselves. This one it seems very black and white on paper, but there are a couple things in here that I wanted to touch on that I think is probably worth the time. The GVT, or the German volume training, is the main one here. I think there's probably needs to be a little bit more clarity still for a lot of people, or maybe we just haven't done it in a while, or maybe you've never done it, as just the purpose of it and why we even do it. um, with the primary lifts, GVT, I've always found a ton of value in the ability to work on muscular endurance and capacity work with one particular primary lift. Not only super time efficient, but in terms of understanding your capabilities, very black and white, which I love. So anytime it's like this simplistic, you can repeat it pretty easily a couple months later. It's nice to just be able to reference something that doesn't really blow your mind. There's not a lot of hard thought into it. It's simply like, can you physically do it or can you physically not? And it's easily tracked. And you guys, again, like I said, can reference it and see if you've made any level of improvement. Now, the muscular endurance capacity side of it is a big one. In German volume training, it's 10 sets of 10 reps with a 60-second timer recovery. Anybody that's done this in the past knows that the timer recovery is crucial. It's essentially priority number one. Even taking 5, 10, 15 extra seconds in a set, it will go a very long way. And again, if you haven't done this before, you could even play test it. Obviously, I don't want you to do that, but you could take 15, 20 extra seconds in a set, and you'll notice this pretty significant difference in how it feels just by taking a couple of extra seconds. So really sticking to that 1 minute time recovery is massive, meaning you usually got to set yourself up at like the 45-second mark. So at the 1 minute mark, you can immediately start the next set. Now, in a perfect world, GVT would be done at 60%. 60% is very, very hard. There are not many people that could do 10 by 10 with a 1 minute rest at their true 60%. It requires years of lifting and muscular build, growth, and obviously the endurance side of it. So just, thousands of repetitions to get to the point where you could do this perfectly. So it's always as close to 60% as possible. And understanding that even if you don't hit 60%, it doesn't mean you failed. Like, the whole point is just to get an understanding and a foundation built so that moving forward, we can work on improving or closing that gap towards the 60%. Now, the muscular endurance and capacity side is fantastic, but the other, side to the coin here is the strength. And normally, if you've, again, been with us for a while, and maybe you haven't, I usually ask you guys to do 4 or 5 sets, 8 to 12 reps at that 60%. Like, that is kind of like, hey, if I do 5 by 12 at 60%, I typically am in a ballpark where I can move up a weight class. A lot of us can't do even 5 sets at 60%. So asking you to do 10 sets at 60% is kind of chaotic, right? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. So what does that mean? The purpose is, and I talk about maintenance mode quite frequently. Maintenance mode is a real thing. Like, I'll go a very long duration with a particular body part. Like, if we're not doing a cycle, or maybe I've been nursing some type of injury, I'm not working on getting particularly stronger. I just want to maintain the muscle mass that I have already. And hanging out in maintenance mode, you can do quite literally for an eternity. If you get to a point where you feel like you are strong enough, you have no ambition to continue to get stronger, then you can just hang out in maintenance mode for, like I said, eternity, as long as you continue to lift and maintain your weights, which is why referencing your weights is so important. What's cool about GVT is that it's kind of like a side quest without working on getting stronger. So, like, your raw strength doesn't necessarily need to go up. Like, you don't need to move more load to get better at GVT. If my 60% is 50-pound dumbbells for a chest press, and the first time I do GVT, I get through 6 sets at 50%, and then I just kind of hit a wall, which is likely to occur to a lot of you guys in different set areas throughout that 10 sets. I can now, instead of just focusing solely on getting stronger and moving more weight, I obviously have the raw strength to move those 50s, right? I just don't have the muscular endurance or capacity to do it for 8, 9, or 10 sets. And that's something you can work on without necessarily working on progressive overload, if that makes sense. So I've always enjoyed GVT, that it kind of fills in that void where if I'm not doing a cycle, I'm not doing traditional progressive overload to work on increasing my raw strength, my ceiling strength, I can just work on capacity and muscular endurance, which I think is what a lot of people want to do. They just don't really know that they're doing it. So again, it doesn't always have to be just working on raw strength. You can often just, settle on, I'm going to stay maintenance mode for these 4 muscle groups, and I'm going to work on a cycle for this muscle group while simultaneously maybe working on my running as a supplementary aerobic factor outside of this whatever muscle group you're trying to get stronger on. And I'm going to stay maintenance in all of these muscle groups. Because again, you can't just constantly get stronger at everything all the time. It's just not how it works. Eventually, you have to pick 1 or 2 things, focus on those 1 or 2 things, obviously over the course of like 12-ish weeks or more, give or take, depending on what it is. And then you can kind of move on to the next thing while you then go into maintenance mode or refer to maintenance mode for whatever it is you just worked on for 12 weeks. And that's kind of how you make those baby steps over time. And then we can go down a whole rabbit hole on this, but if you're brand new to the gym, you're just starting, everything's going to get better, right? Because you're just going from 0 to 100. Everything's going to get better. But eventually that plateaus, and then you got to start getting more precise and more niche with the things that you want to continue to improve on. So long story short, GVT is a fantastic way to kind of fill that void, especially if you're not doing something like a cycle. Incline press with a pause. I think we've already done a ton of volume here. The amount of total gross tonnage you're going to move after GVT is enormous. So I really like putting you in kind of in a deficit and working on the technicalities, and pausing on an incline press is all that, like focusing on your shoulder girdle, focusing on your chest, actually engaging and firing and doing all of the work out of that deficit or that pause is just fantastic repetition. The push-up ladder, of course, is just there for volume. If you actually get to it, 27 minutes GVT could take people up to 15 minutes. So I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of people just don't make it to the push-up ladder. And then following that, we're going to get on the row. I've always enjoyed pushing and pulling and combining the row on chest days. So fantastic transition here. You guys get a little bit of autonomy. If you're competitive, you can aim, honestly, for either one of these, totally based off your capability. In the first minute of the 2-minute EMOM, you're just going to AMRAP row, which is kind of neat because you can kind of dictate how aggressive you want to get. You know, aim for 200, 250, 300, maybe 350 meters a minute. You're going to let these meters accumulate. In the second minute, you will do 8 dumbbell cleans, which is actually a really hard transition. So I'm just going to throw that out there now, especially if you're using the appropriate weight. Females, 35, males, 50-pound dumbbell, kind of gold standard. Definitely capable of going over that weight. A lot of that's going to come down to just how hard you're rowing, which, again, I love this whole setup. This is like my kind of setup from a personal opinion. I just love the ability to manipulate the workout and merely make this as hard as you want to make it, or as easy as you want to make it, of course. But either way, nice little balanced workout here. Probably leans a little bit into the volume more so, which is why I put no extra pushing in the second block, because you're going to do so much of it in this first block.